How's it going, traders? Welcome back to the Trade & Co Trading YouTube channel. So firstly, I'd like to apologise for there being no video last week. That's purely because literally there was nothing like that was standing out last week. It was a very quiet week for us. But the good news is that the markets are looking a lot better this week, so I think we could be in for a busy week. So without further ado, let's get right into the charts. So guys, I'd like to start off with the DXY, the dollar index. So looking at this can give us a great understanding of where the USD is heading. And for those of you that don't know, the USD is the highest traded currency. So this can give us a good idea of where the USD is heading, and then we can cross-reference that against like the euro, the pound, etc. So starting with a monthly chart here. So I've already got this mapped out on the monthly time frame. So you can clearly see where we've got this head and shoulders, this left shoulder, head, and we're forming this right shoulder now. We've had 3 spikes to the upside. So I do think this pair is going to be head and lower, but I think we're going to have a little bit more of a push up, which I'll show in the lower time frames in a minute. So just putting this Fibonacci on, you can see we're also respecting this 78.6. So there's a couple confluences in this area for the dollar index to drop off. So let's drop down to the lower time frames. So you can see here on this daily time frame, we've broken out this inner trend line, and we've got this new descending trend line from these 2 touches here. So what I'm looking for, let's just drop down to the 4 hour. If you just get a Fibonacci, you can see here we've made new lows, this being a new low, so I'm looking at this being the new lower high to then make new lower lows. So you can see here the 61.8 and the 78.6. I'm looking for price to carry on this push up from Friday. Let's just mark it out. Push into this area. Then I'm looking for price to make a big drop off. So short term on the DXY, I'm looking for bullish beginning of the week, and then I'm looking for this to drop off. And potentially, guys, I had this trend line marked out here. You can see we had this 1 touch, 2 touch, and we didn't quite make this 3rd touch. And normally 9 times out of 10, if we don't make, like, nearly come to this trend line but we don't touch it, we will eventually at some point come back and tap this. So let me just remove some of this a second. So you can also see we've got this Fibonacci here as well, and the 61.8 and the 50% lines up with this trend line, and you can see we've got previous support in this area, these wicks, support, 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 support. So short term, as I said, and I think medium term we're going to come into these areas, and then for this longer term push to the upside. So guys, just doing that little analysis on the DXY can give us a great understanding of where we think the dollar's heading next. So using that information, we can now head over to USD Swiss, and let's see what's happening. So the last daily candle, you can see we've had a nice shooting star, so it's a great reversal sign. But the same with the DXY, I think we've still got a little bit of bullish momentum in us. As you can see, last week we just come shy of this 78.6, and normally when we come that close, we do eventually fill in that gap. So we've got this daily trend line here, 0.1, 0.2. I'm waiting for the price to come back up and test this other side of this trend line. And you can see here we've got this descending trend line, but it's not the strongest because, let me just delete this Fibonacci a second. It's already had 3 touches. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So I normally only trade the 3rd touch, but I'm just using this as extra confluence here. You can see here, nice structure. We've made new lows on this 4 hour trend. So low, low, this being a new lower high. So as I said, correlating with the DXY, I'm looking for this push up into this area, 0.9730s. Might even be able to spike into our weekly resistance. That would give us even a better entry. I'm looking this pair then to drop off to first target at 0.960, second target 0.9560s. So yeah, that's your USD Swiss. So now moving on to USD CAD, very similar to USD Swiss. So I'll start with the daily time frame here. Just delete this fib. So we have a nice price action here. So we had this big bearish candle, and as I said in one of the other videos, we normally retrace half of this before then making new lows or new highs if it's a bullish engulfing. So see, we've got this daily trend here, 0.1, 0.2, just come short of this third touch. And as I had this Fibonacci on, see we're closed nicely here on the 61.8, but we don't just move away from one touch of the 61.8 or any fib retracements. We normally have a couple touches or 2 or 3 touches. So I'm looking for price, same with the DXY. Come back up to these levels, retesting, making this third touch on this daily trend line. See here, just zoom in for you. See, we just missed that. I'm looking for price to fill in this gap before then heading off to the downside. So first target 1.38, second target 1.37, and then maybe even monthly support of 1.36. So guys, moving on to pound dollar. So as we've got a great understanding of the short-term pound strength, and then we're expecting pound to drop off, so we can use this on the pound dollar as well. So quite a bearish candle on this last daily, but you can see here we're just filling in this wick over here. So using other confluences, see if anything lines up this trend line. Alright, so we've still got a gap to fill there, which lines up with our dollar prediction. So we do have this inverse head and shoulders here, this left shoulder, head, and this right shoulder. See if any fibs line up on this 4-hour trend. Yeah, so we've got the 61.8. That lines up perfectly in this area as well. I'll just delete this alert if I can get it. Turn my brightness up, don't know why it's dimming. So yeah, we've got this third touch of the trend line, the 61.8, and this right shoulder, inverse head and shoulders, as I showed you on the 4-hour. See this wick over here? So it doesn't have to line up perfectly, but near enough. So on this 4-hour trend, you can see this was the last lower high, made a new lower low, and we broke in market structure here. This is a new higher high, so this being a new higher low. So we're following the trend and market structure. So to add even more confluence, let's see what lines up here. So this, let me just delete this other one a second. So there's 2-hour Fibonacci, point A, point B, this is point C on the 50%, and you can see the minus 27.2 extension line up also in this level. So you got 3-4 confluences in this area, and knowing, having a great understanding of what the dollar is doing as well, it's just another confluence. So I'm looking for price to fill in this gap here. Might have a push lower, entice people to take shorts before then making its push up and making new highs. So let's just put this other Fibonacci on a second, so see where we want to take profit. So yeah, 1.2350s, probably a good level. So it looks something like this. 40 pip stop. So I always risk 1% on each trade, no more, sometimes 0.5 depending on the day and the setup and the confluences and all that. So risking 1% on this trade will give you a nice nearly 5%. So a nice simple setup there. Yeah, that's cable. So pound yen also correlating with our pound bias. So on the daily time frame here, you've got to be quite careful here, because as you can see on this daily time frame, we are in a downtrend. So new low, lower high, low, low, lower high. So we could potentially make lower lows here towards our monthly support. So I'm going to be a bit vigilant on this pair. But you can see, quite similar to cable, you've got this inverse head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Just see what Fibonacci lines up. And these trend lines we've got going on. So 0.1, 0.2, we've got this third touch we're looking for in this daily time frame. And you can see there's broken trend line as well. 0.1, 0.2 here. 0.3, oh sorry, the retest of this back into this trend line, lining up with this third touch of this ascending and this inverse head and shoulders, and plus this 4-hour Fibonacci. And you can see here the extension line up with the 133 level. So anywhere in this zone I'll be looking for longs, but as I said, because we're in a clear downtrend on the daily time frame, I will be vigilant on taking this trade too quick. So I always put my stop loss when I'm using Fibonacci's below the 78.6. So 40 pips below, just tighten that up a little bit. Looks something like that. Targeting the 133. So once again, a nice 5% reward for risking 1%. So guys, pound CAD, also a bit of a tricky one. You can see it's kind of consolidating here on this 4-hour. But we have broken out of this inner trend line, which we had from here to here. So there's not too many confluences here, but I do think we can have a bullish push, at least up to this 1.7250 level. So same with other pairs that we just covered. We do have this inverse head and shoulders, left shoulder, this head, looking for this right shoulder. So dropping down to the lower time frames, we can see what Fibonacci is lining up with these levels. Just snap that on there. So yeah, we're banging our head on the 61.8 at the moment, but you can see the 78.6 line up perfectly with weekly support. So there's a good couple confluences there in that level, in that area, sorry. And obviously this this area being the right shoulder, this inverse head and shoulders as well. So we could have 3 confluences there to take this long, but just have to wait and see what price wants to do. But if price does make this push lower, we can then, that's why you got to have you got to be open to change your mind. We could then be able to take this short, but my preferred bias is longs. But just in case, if this weekly support does break, I can then look for this retest of this weekly resistance, then it will be, and see what Fibonacci's line up. And yeah, so let's see what happens on this pair. But as I said, my preferred bias is longs up to weekly resistance 1.7250. So guys, the last pair I'm going to look at, I've been waiting for this pair now for a couple of weeks. So what I'm looking for here, just delete some analysis a second, let it clear it up a little bit. So on this daily time frame, had a nice rejection last week to the downside. So you've got this inner trend line here that we're expecting. But let's just delete that for a minute. See what the weekly happened. So yeah, on the weekly time frame we are above our weekly key level. Let's just write that in a second. Weekly support 0.6925. So that's a good sign that we can push higher. We've also broken out of this this inner trend line here, 0.1, 0.2, and we're currently retesting the other side. And also, like I think it was like cable, we have this ascending trend line as well, looking for the third touch. So once again, these two trend lines line up with weekly support, and then we can just snap a Fibonacci on these lower time frames and see what lines up. So you've got the 78.6 here. Might better push in, carry on this move from Friday. Like I said, we normally carry on the move from Friday on Monday, or at least the morning of Monday. So expecting this push into this area, 0.69 hundreds, and then targeting the 0.7750s. So weekly resistance, again lining up with this minus 27.2 extension. Nice pip, nice stop loss, sorry, below these lows here, and a nice 1 to 3.5 trade. So yeah guys, that's like 3 or 4 pairs. If you watched the last videos, pretty much, well, I think majority of the pairs actually played out how we predicted, which is good to see. So these videos are just for educational purposes only, and you know, I just want to share with people how I analyze pairs, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it. But if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel, it helps us out a lot. And if you want to join our Discord, we're doing a week's trial at the moment for free. Just message our Instagram, it's TCO Trading, I'll put it on the screen. Say that you're interested and we'll get you added. But yeah, thanks a lot guys, and we'll see you in the next video.